After 5 straight months, Death Battle has finally returned for Season 10 with the arrival of Ant-Man vs. the Atom. Yes, I know it's technically called Ant-Man vs. Atom, but screw you, I prefer saying the Atom, you'll have to deal with it. Though, in fairness, I'll probably just call him Atom for short. Never mind, I guess. Anyways, how do I think the premiere went? As I said for Jinx vs. Harley, a premiere has got to get your audience hyped for what's to come, as well as being something that can pull those viewers in the first place. Despite some people being very annoyed by the fact that it was another Marvel vs. DC episode as the premiere, I feel like this was the perfect matchup for this. Sure, it was kind of painful knowing that we're getting 2 overused series for an episode we would still have to wait 2 months for when it was announced, but at least the matchup gave us a lot to wonder about. How would they treat these characters' stories? How would they utilize their shrinking abilities? Would the death involve one of the combatants going up the other's ass? Well, no to that last one. What we got was somehow a lot more horrifying. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Let's just see how the episode itself went. Starting off with the analyses, they're actually really good. DJ absolutely cooked with this editing. Sure, there are a few shots that look kind of awkward, however, it's nothing that impacts the quality of the analyses at all. What I really love, though, is how they're able to have story and versus stuff coexist. Hank definitely got the better end of that here, but that was only because there was more stuff going on in his life than Ray's. They talk about how Hank's deteriorating mental state was what pushed his insecurities to the absolute limit, being the reason he did so many horrible things, like... yeah. It's also nice to hear them say that it was an inexcusable action, despite the disorders placed on Hank, and how it didn't completely ruin him as a person, showing how he strived to improve on himself instead of letting his mind deprecate him further, becoming a better person and getting the psychiatric help he needed. I was worried with how they would handle this, but in my eyes, they handled it pretty well. Also, another part of Hank's analysis I really like is how they talk about the ants that help Hank, speaking of them like they're part of his overall toolkit. Like I said, Adam's analysis was also pretty good. Nothing too special or mind-blowing, but it's all around pretty alright. And the cutaways were also pretty okay too. Now, the animation is where things start getting wild. The voice actors do a really great job, Gavin Hammond and Chris Okawa as Ant-Man and Atom respectively. I like many of their line deliveries. The score by Theirwolf Media is also pretty good. Not actual sized isn't out yet as of writing this, but it fits the fight quite well and gets pretty catchy at points. So it has the outer shell of a really great fight, but what about the rest of the factors? Well, I think I'll just go ahead and get my negatives out of the way real quick. And they aren't really negatives per se, more so just nitpicks. Hank's head looks kind of small on his pretty big body here. It looks fine when the helmet or lab coat is on, but I don't know, something about it just feels weird. But he's only like this for 5 seconds, so it doesn't really matter. Hank screaming at the top of his lungs while he looks like this is honestly kind of hilarious, I'm not gonna lie. Adam's run looks super jank. Sometimes the action can be a bit slow. This shot can be kind of confusing. Atom just kind of stands here growing before finally deciding to punch Ant-Man. And finally, Atom still has his biobelt after it got destroyed literally seconds before. Those aren't all of my complaints, but they're the most noticeable. Now onto the stuff I really like, which after rewatching is very plentiful. First off, the animation looks gorgeous in multiple different areas. All the backgrounds look absolutely stunning and so full of color, the sprite work is very amazing, and the movements feel very quick and full of life. So many points where things just flowed so naturally. It isn't free of jank, but there's barely any to be seen. It's just a visual treat. We open up on Hank doing some work when he spots Atom trying to infiltrate his facility. We have a nice little exchange between them that is further developed by the fight. I did say that I like Lex vs. Doom and how cocky the two are about their intelligence, but I feel like they did a whole lot better on that concept here. You see, in Lex vs. Doom, that messed with the pacing a whole lot, making them stop and start every time they want to gloat. Hank and Ray, however, just try to one-up each other by insulting their opponent's intelligence or hyping up their own mid-battle. So it doesn't detract from anything at all. We have a nice little scuffle on the desk of Death Battle, blame Capsirius for that name, before we take it to the ground and we get the Ants. With a small little fight, literally, between them and Adam, before he just decides to take the easy way out. It's nice that Hank actually prioritizes his pets throughout the rest of the fight, instead of just using them for this one purpose. They're even used as a factor in his victory. Don't bother complaining about how it counts as outside help, because I don't really care. Hank grows the car, which kinda leads into a confusing series of events, and this, which then leads into Adam taking the two into the microverse, where they have a small growing battle. Again, literally. Adam going to his limit and breaking the reality around them kinda looks like he's just having a really bad migraine, but it doesn't really matter since when Ant-Man destroys his bile belt, it leads into this absolutely stellar short monologue from Hank about how he's able to work on a level that Adam can't even comprehend. Man, that's chilling. Then we get to Overspace, where we get a little cameo from Eternity, and then the death where, what the fuck? Oh my god, this is horrifying! But very creative and cool. And at least it isn't you-know-what. Though I guess Wiz did reference it, so whatever. The kill is even brought up by the immaculate death scream by Chris. Man, I swear, there has to be a horror movie out there about ants that has this exact kill. The death did feel slightly rushed, felt like we could have used a bit longer to let it sink in, but the art and sheer impact just gave me shivers. It's so brutal. So overall, I really like this episode. It was a really good way to start this season off. If you haven't, then go watch our reaction to it, because we were able to get some new phases on call with us. And it was really fun having them on. I really missed reacting to death battles. Glad I get to do it again. Overall, I was originally going to give this one a 7 out of 10, but after rewatching it, I feel like it deserves an 8 out of 10. Not the best premiere we've had. I like Dante vs. Bayonetta and Yoda vs. King Mickey better, though I think I might have liked this one a bit more than Harley vs. Jinx. I haven't really had much time to think about that. But it's also probably tied against Miles vs. Static, so there's that. It did what it needed to do, and gave us a pretty good episode on top of that. Next up, we have, Dragonborn vs. Chosen Undead, or Dark Souls vs. Skyrim. I already covered this matchup in my Season 10 predictions video, but I didn't really have much to say on it there, besides the fact that I am really intrigued. Sauron vs. Lich King turned out really great, and this is kind of like a spiritual successor to that matchup. And it's probably going to be more frantic, which is always welcome. Plus, this is Liam's dream match. I know Dio vs. Alucard supposedly took that title, but this is the one that Liam has been wanting to do forever. And looking at how Dio vs. Alucard turned out, I have high hopes for this one. Kind of weird that it's episode 2, though. I mean, it has to be 3D. Why wouldn't it? Of course, I won't complain if it isn't, nor will I say it can't be done well if it isn't, but even then, a matchup this big feels weird to be in the second episode slot, instead of the premiere. Though I guess that didn't stop them from pulling that with the Mega Man Battle Royale, so I guess they don't really care. Whatever, I'm still excited. And Potato King says he's a huge Dark Souls fan, so I'm sure he'll get a huge kick out of this one. I tried making this review pretty short. I'm getting my braces off tomorrow as I'm recording this, and I would prefer not having to deal with my retainer while recording audio, so I wanted to get it out pretty quick. But just know that I liked it a lot, and I can't wait to see how Death Battle does throughout the year. I'll see you for the PlayStation Showcase, which better have Spider-Man 2, or else I will be very sad.